What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And Bitcoin is getting a little bit of a dumpski here, so I wanted to drop this quick market update for you guys, keep you informed on what I'm looking at in the markets and what I expect price to do next. Because if you guys tuned in last week to the live stream, you will know we were looking for some bearish signals to print on the chart for a push to the downside. And although it took a while to print, we're finally getting it now, and we are, of course, seeing that dump to the downside. So without further ado, guys, I don't want to waste too much time. Let's jump right into the charts. I'll give you all the sauce. We'll look at the key levels. We'll look at kind of how we got to where we are now, and then we'll look at where price is going to be going next, so you don't miss the next move on Bitcoin. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. So guys, as you are probably aware, based off all the notifications you're probably getting on your phone, Bitcoin breaking 67K, we are getting that drop to the downside, and I want to talk about kind of what we saw happen here, guys, because if you watched the live stream last week, you will know that as we were approaching this key zone of resistance, we were looking for some very specific things to pop up on the chart in order to call for this bigger move down. Now, I was actually short on Friday from this bearish divergence on the 4-hour, but on that live stream, guys, we were looking at two potential scenarios to play out here, because as traders, you have to understand there is no way to 100% predict the price. So you have to sometimes take a stab at positions, even if you think you might get stopped out, because you don't know if price is going to come down from where you're short from, or if you're going to go up and sweep some liquidity above, which was that exact scenario that we were looking at on the live stream. So although I was short from this high here, I have been very conservative with those short positions, guys, on the way to the upside for a very specific reason, and that was the fact that we knew that we had liquidity sitting above this high leading into this purple box, which is typically a strong level of resistance. Now, we did have the value area high sitting here at about $70,200, and we also had some daily naked points of controls sitting in this zone, and that actually wound up being the exact level that we rejected. But as I was short here on Friday's live stream, I was being very conservative with my stop loss pretty tight here, knowing that sure, maybe we could get the pullback off that 4-hour bear div for the bigger push down. However, understanding that liquidity was sitting above, we know that that liquidity does like to act as a magnet, and we didn't know if we were going to come up and sweep that liquidity above before getting the bigger move down. And we actually wound up getting this scenario to play out exactly as we were looking for. And if we pull up that liquidation heat map, you can see back in time here, that was where I was short from, got that nice little move down, still was in profit a bit, but we knew that this liquidity sitting up here between about $69,000 just above these highs into about 69.3 all the way up to about 70K. But really that big zone of liquidity was sitting between 69K and about 69.3, 69.4. And that gave us the idea that maybe, just maybe, we would be able to come up and sweep that liquidity up here before finally getting that drop to the downside. And that is exactly what we saw happen. We didn't know for sure if we were going to come down here, but by identifying where that liquidity was, we were able to predict that last little push up before the final drop to the downside. So guys, we did see that wind up playing out perfectly, and this is kind of the macro levels that we're looking at with our major volume profile here, pulled from all the way in March, giving us this macro range. We went from the value area low where we caught that beautiful long position in the premium, looked for price to go to the next likely target, which was the POC, and flipping that POC to support was one of those other things that was making us think, hey, maybe we can get one more last push up here, especially with that liquidity above. And that's why I love to look at the liquidity, guys, because it is actually what moves the market. It's not some magical pattern on the chart. And this is why I love to look at this stuff, and hopefully anyone that was watching the channel on Friday can kind of see how this stuff plays out. So that is kind of the macro context here, guys. We got that nice rejection to our first key level of support, which again would obviously be that point of control of the range sitting at $67,000. Now, what I want to do here is I want to jump into some more local levels here, guys, pulling up that $67,000 range, which obviously was a big thing that we were looking at on Friday's live stream, saying, hey, if we wind up getting those bearish divergences, as well as some other key signals above this value area high, this is where you want to look for shorts. We literally talked about this, and this is the magic of the volume profiles, guys. When you deviate above the value area high, this is where you want to look for shorts, and then when you deviate below the low or you reclaim the value area low, that's where you want to look for longs. Plain and simple. And what happened? We wound up coming above that value area high one last time to put in some of those bearish divergences. You can see we got that 10-hour bear div with our higher highs on on price action, lower highs on our momentum waves. And then the thought process there, guys, is once you get into that value area and you can't get back above, that is typically where you get that bigger drop to your next likely target, which is simply going to be the POC of the range. And I'm going to talk about those lower targets in a second, guys. But one more thing that we were looking at on the live stream and in the premium Discord for that bigger drop to the downside was that daily red dot on top of that daily bearish divergence, which is now starting to print here. You can see higher highs on our price action into the key level of resistance with our lower highs on our momentum waves as we deviate above that value area high. And once again, you did have those lower time frame confirmations as well. You have the 8-hour bearish divergences here, higher highs, lower highs, again, above that key level, which is the value area high. That's where you look for the short with bearish confirmations. And then you get a return into the range, look to go to the POC. And again, we're going to get to those lower targets in just a second. But not only that, guys, as we print this 8-hour red dot, I will say I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little more downside. Sure, can we see some retracements to the upside? Potentially. I will be looking for a short entry because although we did have this as a setup in the premium Discord, shout out to the premium Discord. If you guys are interested in checking it out, you can check out frankiecandlestrading.com or click the link in the description down below to get access. But although we were looking for this, guys, I actually missed my position because, like I said, I was actually already short here from that 4-hour bear div, and then we wound up coming up. I got stopped out of that position, and then we got the move down, and I actually didn't have a chance to re-enter my short position. But I am not, I repeat, I am not FOMOing into shorts at this moment, guys. We've already gotten the bigger drop down. I am not going to FOMO short here. In order for me to enter a short, I must get some kind of retracement to the upside to get an entry on a lower high before continuing down. I am not going to short this big red candle. Very important to realize. I'll catch some local scalp longs or something like that. There's plenty of opportunities, but it's very important that you do not force your trades or FOMO into shorts after big drops. This is not the time to short Bitcoin. The time to short Bitcoin was when we had the setups up here as we were pushing to the upside. But contrary to what some people believe, I don't catch every single move. We obviously do take a lot of these trades and we catch them from nice entry points, but I do not catch every single position, guys, and I did miss this one, but that is totally fine. I'm not tripping. I will catch some more opportunities on the way up and then hopefully catch a short to get that bigger ride back to the downside. But we do have that red dot printing on the 8-hour, guys, with that 30-minute money flow crossover into the red. And like I always say, guys, with that 8-hour red dot and 30-minute money flow crossover into the red, sometimes that 30-minute money flow crossover can give you that bigger move down. And that was the thing that gave you the bigger drop. So I would not be surprised if we can continue down here, guys. But again, I am not FOMOing short. I will be looking for scalps here on the way back up, as well as re-entering shorts on those retracements. Not FOMOing in on these big red candles. But we were able to call that top almost perfectly here, looking for that liquidity to get swept. Let that teach you a lesson about how important liquidity can be. Now, if we do continue down, guys, some of the key levels that I will personally be looking at on the way down if we continue to lose this POC, well, first off, I will just be looking at this volume profile for context. Value area high, right? This worked out beautifully on the way up. Deviate above the high, get those bearish confirmations, look to go back into the range. Once you're back in the range, where's that next likely place for price to go? Very simply put, the POC of the range. Lose this POC decisively, then we're going to be looking for the bigger drop down, potentially bringing us down to about $64,500, where we have that value area low of the range sitting right here. However, as you guys know, I am being careful with those shorts. I am not being greedy with the shorts just yet, letting the bigger drops to the downside hit me by surprise. So if we do wind up getting a bigger drop down, before we get to that value area low, I will say we do have some other key levels down here. We have a golden pocket sitting at $66,569 with that 786 sitting around $65,759. So if we lose this POC, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some kind of a bounce off this zone. But remember, it is always going to be a journey through your volume profile. Here, we got above the value area low, flipped it to support. We shot up to the POC, bigger rejection, back to the POC, little rejection, back to the value area high. We lost the POC, back to the value area high, right? So it's usually a journey. It is not always just straight to the value area high, straight to the value area low, back to the high, back to the low, back to the high, right? You have to expect it to be a journey. So this is really the major context I'm looking at, guys. POC sitting at 67,320, value area high sitting at 68.5, and then your value area low sitting at 64,579. But you have to understand you do have those local levels in between. So if we do wind up getting the bigger drop down here, again, based off the daily bearish divergence, based off the daily red dot, I wouldn't be surprised if we wind up getting a little bit of turbulence, back up, get a little stuck to the POC, come back down, right? But eventually, once you lose that POC decisively, that's where you're looking down towards the value area low. So very simply put, those are the the major levels I'm looking at locally. And until then, I will be catching those scalps until I have another good opportunity to re-enter a short position, guys. And we will be looking for that in the premium Discord. Again, it was in there beforehand, but I missed it personally. I can't catch every single trade, but at least it was in there for the Mafia. So shout out to anyone in the kitchen capitalizing on that move to the downside. Raking those gains for your boy Frankie Candles. But very simply put, guys, it's important to keep your emotions out of this trading game if you're going to make money in this market. There's no need to eat up your profits that you've made on the way up, chasing bad trades after you miss the move down. And then just in the general grand scheme of things, guys, if I get rid of this fib, as long as we remain inside this volume profile, I will be using this as my context. Maybe we come back up, retest the highs, finally lose the lows, and come back down to the value area low. That would kind of be the longer term kind of scenario that I'd be looking at if the bear div on the daily gives us the bigger move down. But again, being conservative with the shorts. Another reason why I'm not forcing a trade here, because we still do technically have that bullish change of character here, guys. This is the exact situation that we were looking at here on the 14th with the bullish change of character coming up, making us look for that higher low for a break of structure to the upside here. We got that. And now if we're going to come back down, it is possible to come in and put in another higher low before continuing up. So I am still generally, for the most part right now, leaning bullish. But, you know, as we look for these ebbs and flows, like I've been talking about on the live stream, nothing goes up in a straight line. You have to anticipate these pullbacks. Here we are, just absolutely nailing one more pullback here. So even if we do come up here, guys, again, you know, if I pull some of these larger fib levels, you can see, right, this value area low is very confluent with this golden pocket, which would make a lot of sense if we did wind up coming down here. This would be a big place I'm going to be looking to potentially open a new fresh long to eventually come up and take those all-time highs. But like I said, guys, everybody gets bullish. This is where we're typically getting bearish, looking for the pullbacks. Hopefully anybody watching the channel on Friday was able to see this stuff come to reality here, have that TA play out beautifully, even seeing that local liquidity grabbed above those recent highs into our short zone. Hopefully this kind of gives you guys confidence in the TA that it does play out more often than it doesn't. Even if you have to look at two scenarios, you could very simply just protect yourself in case what you want to play out doesn't happen. You could protect yourself with a tight stop loss, and then once you see that next thing play out, you could capitalize on that move. So with all that being said, guys, that's all the time I got for today's quick market update. There's the local levels I'm looking at, kind of the overall grand scheme of what I'm looking at next here on Bitcoin. So hopefully we could keep calling these moves, and hopefully on the next one, I could get my entry where I want it with the rest of the premium Discord. Make sure you smash that like and subscribe to the channel, guys, so you don't miss these updates, so you can see these moves before they happen, just like we do in the Candle Mafia. That's all the time I got for today's video. I'll see you in the next one. Frankie Candles out.
Go. At the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we winning by